Good morning, friends. This is Noah Crow with What If News. And hey, it's a beautiful day. And we keep on talking about politics. But I think that the important thing for us as Americans and also as just people in the world is to recognize, the news is talking about impeachment and about coronavirus relief and all these other things. But they're not talking about the fact that we've all been through one of the most globally traumatic and at the same time unifying experiences of our lives, of decades, of generations of people. We're going through it right now, and we're still in the middle of it. And the other thing about this is that as Americans, we've all collectively gone through the trauma of being not only gaslit as a country by a one person slash a group, that person's group, but also that we've had to experience what narcissistic abuse feels like. Now, maybe that's a new term for some of us, but almost any hit TV show that you've seen in the last decade, most likely the bad guy or even the anti-hero has actually been a narcissist. And there is such a thing as narcissistic abuse. And the way that a narcissist abuses their prey, right? Because they do look at us as their prey, is that they feed off of other people's energy. They feed off of other people's emotions. They actually feed off of seeing that they're able to manipulate well-meaning people against their better interests for the narcissist's own aggrandizement, whether that's for their own profit, for their own social status, whatever it is. And I think that a lot of us aren't recognizing the deep pain and betrayal that's in our hearts. Our country has been divided, de-united. We've had people in the same families stop talking to each other. We've had people in communities not engaging with each other. Fractured seemingly across a unequivocal divide. But this divide was manufactured. And it's important to recognize this. Anytime we're watching the news or listening to somebody and they're telling us how to think, how to feel, they're not saying, hey, this is my opinion, but they're saying, this is the way you should feel about this thing. This is the way that you should look at this thing. They're not saying, hey, let's look at it from multiple perspectives. Hey, let's take everyone into account. Hey, let's give people the benefit of the doubt, but let's also give ourselves the benefit of the doubt. They're not saying, hey, let's tap into our own internal knowing. They're saying, let's react in the way that we're being told to react. And they've turned Americans against each other, and that doesn't help any of us. And this is actually what narcissists will do when they're preying on somebody, when they've identified their source, as it's called, is they will start to separate people from that source. They will start to triangulate people from that source. And that is their power. And they actually kind of get off a little bit on the fact that other people actually believe the emotions they pretend to have, or actually, believe in them. Like inside the back of their brain, there's this little tricky, mischievous thing that goes, ooh, look, I'm getting away with something. I can't believe I'm getting away with this. I can't believe they don't know that I'm a sociopath, right? That's what's going on inside the narcissist's brain. And they are willing to say and evoke any emotion necessary to achieve their aim. And their aim is usually because the function of a narcissist is that they're afraid, or they don't have the energy, the capacity, the skill set to actually provide value, equal value within a situation. And so their goal is always to absorb as much value from the whole, from the community or from the individual, and to separate people in the community from the individual, from their source of supply, from their prey, in order that the narcissist can't be found out. And this is what happened and is still happening in America right now, today. One person with their small group of people, their cadre of people, decided to take the American people for a ride. American citizens, people that really at their heart are the same as every other American. They just want to have a good job, feed their family, live according to their own values, and ideally not impinge on the values of others. But they've been trained against this, to believe that the only way they can have the life they want is to impinge, to infringe, to take other people's freedoms and rights to life away. And they've been trained in this because the narcissist wants us to be separate. On this day, if there was a functional news show, they wouldn't just be telling us about what's happening in the Congress or anything like that, but they'd be telling us, reminding us that America, our hearts have been broken. Whichever side of the spectrum you thought you were on, you were trained to be on, relationships that we deeply cared about have been fractured. Our friends, our family members, our communities have been divided. And I think that a lot of people are feeling this deep grief and sense of loss in our hearts. And it's going to be really hard to move forward without acknowledging that loss is in there. I know that we're trained to look at everything physically, to say, well, like once we get the vaccine and people are allowed to work again, everything's going to go back to normal. There is no normal after what we've been through. We've been through a psychologically traumatizing time. And if we, as human beings, aren't allowed to feel that, then covering that up and just moving on is going to mean that a lot of things that we've just gone through are covered up, and they'll come up later on. So I hope in this segment we do start to see that even though something might not seem functionally relevant, it's like, oh, this is hippy dippy stuff. This is super soft. Like what? We're all supposed to go see a therapist now? It's like, no. But as Americans, we've been through one of the most mind-boggling, traumatizing experiences that anybody can go through. And that is we've been through the experience of being the target of a narcissist. Whether you identify yourself as a conservative or a liberal, a Republican or a Democrat or a progressive or a centrist, a Second Amendmenter or a gardener, we've been through this together. We've all suffered. And until we can recognize that deep grief and betrayal that we've all experienced on a national level, we're not going to have the self-empathy and compassion that we need in order to then extend that empathy and compassion to each other and to truly unite. Not by letting people off the hook, but to truly unite by getting back together again, back to work again, to rebuild the dream of America, the promise of America, a place that isn't for one group of people, but a place that is really the beauty of the American experiment. Is it saying this is a place for all people, where tyranny is unacceptable, where enoughness, where the effort, the sweat of one's brow is enough, where status is not inherited and bequeathed down to the next generation of narcissists that would do anything to aggrandize themselves, but where achievement, where merit, where status is based on how much we are able to be ourselves within our communities, how much we get to contribute to our communities, that is our greatest joy. And truly, I know I've traveled across America. I've met everyone from whether you're shooting empty cans of beer on the farm because it's fun, or watching the Super Bowl, or growing a garden, or sitting in a sweat lodge, we all actually, truly want the core, fundamental, same things. We want family, food, abundance. We want to be recognized for our unique skills, and we actually do enjoy recognizing others for their unique skills. This is the American promise. This is the American possibility. And it's beautiful. But it takes us recognizing as Americans that we are not automatons. We're not machines in the mechanism of America. We are human beings. And we've been profoundly betrayed by the people that said they were here to lead us. And we're having to rebuild our democracy and our way of cooperating with each other from the ground up. And we survived. And we're getting through this. But it's going to take a tremendous amount of empathy and compassion, both first for ourselves and for our families. And then for everyone else that we meet as we start to begin to go back out into the world. This is Noah Crow with What If News. And subscribe, share, and I'll see you next time.